Hey everybody, welcome to day 4 of Following the Energy in Life and Business. And if you were like, what are you talking about? I am doing 14 days straight lives of all the most prominent, important topics that I teach my clients, that I live by, and that I think you need to know. So today we're going to talk about judgment. And a lot of times I'm like, this is the one that changed my life. Questions changed my life. And I would say judgment because it is the thing that creates a lot of havoc in our lives and a lot of contraction. So we will get into it. Now, all these lives are building off each other, so definitely go check them out if you haven't seen them. I'm saving them to a playlist on YouTube, so that way it's real easy to watch one after the other. Hello, welcome everybody coming on. How's your morning, if it's morning there? All right, so we started with the foundation, which is awareness. Having awareness of the present moment, and what does your awareness tell you? Similar to intuition, a little different. Then we went into overwhelm and downloads, like how you get the information and how we typically make ourselves wrong for it. And then I went into really trauma responses in business. So I wanted people to get really clear on those like micro subtle responses that show up that can slow you down or just create issues. So then I was starting to drop in little seeds of judgment because this is something to really, really get. Judgment is right, wrong, good or bad. So like how you live your whole life. So everything that you've learned to evaluate yourself and everything you choose on. Is this a good thing? Is this the right thing? Will this make me better? I mean, it's all about the rightness. Anytime we go into any sort of defense, it's about the rightness. Now, we've been taught to function this way. I mean, just as humans, we've been taught to evaluate the world this way and kind of give ourselves reference points to define ourselves and, like deal with the ego. The thing is, that's what the ego functions from, pure judgment, like judgment alone. What I want you to just consider, I'm going to invite you to consider this for a moment. Does nature function from judgment? It doesn't. It just creates. It creates. And I would beg to say that animals don't either. So it's kind of like, for what purpose do we? Because if it's not creating greater for you, then why choose it? Why function that way? And right now we could just say, well, it's just habit, right? It's just habit at this point. I'm just used to evaluating things. And it's like, if it's not creating greater, what else could I choose? So you might be like, okay, Janine, I get it. Like, judgment's really not the best. And like, okay, so no judgment. I can't do that. That doesn't seem safe or a good idea. So I want to clarify something, because oftentimes when people are talking about no judgment, it doesn't mean no awareness. It doesn't mean go blind. It doesn't mean like close off your ears and eyes and la la la, I'm not going to judge myself and I'm not going to be present. It's not that. It's not that. Right? Here's an example. If you were functioning from no judgment, but also using your awareness, you likely would still not walk down that dark alleyway that there tends to be like bad things going on, right? So what I'm saying is you wouldn't walk down there because you would have the awareness of like, I don't think that would create greater for my life to put myself in maybe a precarious situation. Not that it's wrong, not that it's right. It's just like I'm aware that it could create something I don't want. Something I don't want to get into. Something I don't want to be exposed to. I don't want to be exposed to a trauma. Right? So that is using your awareness. So the difference is energetically is awareness is a yes, no universe, and judgment is right, wrong. This is a really good comment here. Discernment is different than judgment. Let me clarify. Look at the energy of discernment. It's actually judgment light. And I get that discernment is a really popular term, like in the spiritual community. Don't judge, but use discernment. And it's kind of like, don't judge too hard, just judge a little. So if you're kind of like, what? I've always heard discernment is the right thing to use. Tune in for yourself. Just tune into the energy of it. Discernment, how does that feel? It's like, it's a little, yes, these are going to be saved. They're saved to YouTube and on here. Discernment still has that little like prickly, right? Versus if I said, well, I'm using awareness. Do you see how I just relaxed? I'm using my awareness. Will that create greater for me? Maybe not. What else could I choose? That is a yes, no universe. What will create greater? What will expand the energy? Not, this is the right thing to do, this is the wrong thing to do, this is the right person to work with, the wrong person to work with. They're trying to scam me, and that's not that. What am I aware of here? Okay, I don't get it'll create greater. The energy kind of contracts. What else could I choose? Ooh, the energy there really expands. What is that? I'm not even too sure. Does it mean it's right? No. Does it mean it's wrong? No. Energy is just energy. Energy will create something. So I would really invite you to start to look at where you are in judgment, usually of ourselves. And then ultimately, where are you discerning of other people? Right? And literally with anything I say, anything anyone else says, filter through your awareness of, does it expand you and create space, or does it contract you? And there's your answer. You don't need anyone to tell you anything. You can trust you. And you trust you by strengthening the muscle of tuning in to the energy you are aware of, that you are perceiving. Because our nervous systems and our bodies love space, love expansion. They don't like contraction. So the other thing to consider with judgment, discernment, that energy, they are conclusions. It's a conclusion, meaning that when I conclude something, that is all that is reflected back to me in this reality. So it's been widely studied that our brains do this. Our brains delete, distort, and generalize all incoming information that doesn't match what we have already concluded, decided, whatever our point of view is. Isn't that crazy? This is why people are fighting all the time. Who's right? You're right. I'm right. Because we are all seeing things to confirm what we've decided. Now, besides this being obviously problematic, but it's worse for ourselves when we are in so much judgment of ourselves, so much shame, and we've concluded that we're wrong. We will just constantly look for evidence to support it. So you can just think for a second. What's something that you've recently maybe wanted to like purchase or kind of gotten your interest in, or you're wanting to manifest something? Like it could be a type of house, a car, or whatever. Car specifically is a good example. It's like once you start thinking about that car, now you see it everywhere on the road because you're putting your attention to it, right? And so now your brain is literally, without your permission, seeking out data to reconfirm what you've already concluded. This is the issue with judgment. And this is why I teach staying in question. Questions that create the exhale on your nervous system and questions that create expansion. What else is possible here? What else could I choose? Will this create greater? Yes or no if I choose this? Not, is this right? Is this wrong? Where am I wrong? And when people first start to utilize this tool of staying in question, these open-ended questions, they tend to still function from a bit of the judgment, right? They tend to ask questions that are like a statement with a question mark attached. Like kind of, I'm trying to think of an example. Why didn't this work out? Why is this always happening to me? What's wrong with me? It's like, those sound like questions. Do they feel like questions? A helpful question will expand you, invite possibilities, right? Because it gets you out of conclusion. But if you've already decided you're wrong, then you will see all sorts of data to support that. And it's like, that doesn't feel very good, especially because I keep referencing the nervous system. Judgment activates the nervous system. You know, nervous system's a huge buzzword now, which is great. People need to know about it. And what a lot aren't talking about is we literally activate it all day long by going into judgment, by looking at how wrong we are, by looking at how others are wrong. And if we look at judgment then being conclusions, it blocks possibilities from coming to us, right? Because the judgment is a conclusion. We are literally attracting, seeing the data to support it. So now we can't be open to receiving other possibilities because we've already decided. How does it get better than that? Oh my God, it's okay. It takes a second to unlearn, I would say. It's pretty sneaky too. I want to hear from folks that are here about judgment. Where is judgment sticking you, or where, now that we're having this conversation, that you're getting stuck on it? Because even there are so many times when I was just like, oh, I'm like, I got this. I'm practicing this for years now. I'm like mostly out of judgment. And then there'll be just those like little things where I'm like, oh yeah, there it is again. There it is again. Dang it. I'm going to give you an example. I was working with one of my clients, adore her. And she's like, yeah, like, okay, yeah, I get this judgment thing. I'm not out of it. Oh, this is a major shift for you. I'm so grateful. It's been like life-changing for me, this information. So I was working with her, and we were working on this judgment thing. And, you know, she was kind of in this place where, you know, it would be nice to have more support, but she wasn't at her like 9-to-5 job anymore. And she had this space, but also just, you know, wanted to enjoy it, perhaps start her own biz, but had a lot going on and wasn't feeling super well at the time, physically well. And I was looking at, well, what could contribute to your life right now? Who could contribute? Do you see how there was no judgment in that question? It wasn't, you should rest, or you should do X, or you should, it was, what else is possible here? What could you choose? Who could contribute? And so then we started to look at possibilities like, well, what about getting groceries delivered? Would that contribute to your life? And she went into the, well, I'm very capable of getting my own groceries, so I should do that. And I was like, wait, what? Did you hear yourself? Because the should is doing the same thing. The should is a conclusion. The should is creating an expectation of a reality that doesn't exist, that you are creating. And so I was looking at, well, if you had an interesting point of view about it, right, to get out of judgment, if you had an interesting point of view about it, would you choose to get your groceries delivered? Oh, the light bulb, I could see it. It was like, oh my gosh, it's that subtle. Where I'm going into, and I like saw the download coming in for her. She was going into all these places where she made herself need to like do all these things because she decided it was the right thing to do. And it was so subtle. It was so subtle, but something just as simple as that could change so much. You could say just from the practical side of like saving time and being able to have more time with like family or working on your job or, you know, your business or whatever. But also to me, in a much larger scale, it's teaching us to receive. And a lot of us block receiving or feel really uncomfortable receiving. So receiving energies, I mean by receiving contributions from people, receiving money from people. I saw people talking about that in the comments on my recent post. Just receiving help from people. Let me know in the comments, do you struggle to receive like that? Like compliments, contributions, help, money. Do you struggle to receive that? Isn't that so interesting? So it's like choosing something like that, like as simple as having your groceries delivered, is a helpful practice in teaching yourself to receive. Yeah, I'm curious if there's any questions. Let's see, what else did I want to say about this? So I just want you to look at like, where are you making yourself wrong in these really subtle ways? Yes, just being in the receiving mode. Yeah, because people talk about that a lot and people are like, I don't know, what does that mean? Like manifestation, just sit back and receive. And it's like, it's a little more than that because it's an energetic state. So do you notice yourself contract when people receive? Yes, always a giver, hard to receive. I believe it's trauma-based and conditioned. Absolutely, absolutely. Because, yeah, wow, I just got a lot about that. Okay. When you look at trauma energetically, it's like the biggest breach in an energetic boundary ever, right? It's like if you have this like protective energetic bubble, let's say, around you, it cuts right in and like runs you over energetically. Doesn't matter what it is, that's what happens kind of energetically. So that's like a, God, I feel it. It's just the energy comes in so intensely and it's not a safe place to receive energy, right? It was very dramatic and chaotic and, right, full of that. And so that can cause us to wall up energetically. Right? So it's like from the trauma, then we're walled up and that blocks our receiving because now we're needing to really function from a protected mode, a judgmental mode to stay safe. And so when we have a lot of unresolved trauma, and check out the previous video on the trauma responses, we have a lot of unresolved trauma, then that can look like some really extreme like black and white thinking or just really a lot of rigidity in our thinking, and that creates just that feeling. Versus when we heal and we feel safe, we become more flexible in our thinking. My constant shifting in the new biz creates a source of judgment with me. Not sure anyone really cares though. Yes, so yeah, it's so interesting how folks judge themselves for wanting to change so quickly. And the thing is, as you start to get more awareness and choose and choose and choose, that's what it'll look like. It'll be like change. But this reality has said, no, you need to stay the same. That's the right way to be. You need to stay the same, be predictable, be consistent. You know, I've talked about this. I did a post on it. I said, be persistent, not consistent. right? Because it's like, well, what would it take for people to keep up? Or people to enjoy the journey of your evolution? I mean, I've certainly changed a lot. Sometimes I get that I want to change faster than it's like even possible to implement things. I would need like a slew of people to change the branding, change it, change the font again, change the offer again, change, right? Because each time I choose, I get more information. I get another download. I get more awareness. Because the choosing frees us up to receive that information. But only if we're in a space of non-judgment. Because if we're judging it, then we can't choose it. So where are you looking for your wrongness to prove yourself right? Oh my God. Did you hear that? Anytime it's like our brains don't really want to hear something or get it, we'll just like, la la la, tune out. Where are you looking for your wrongness to prove yourself right? Where are you looking for your wrongness to prove yourself right? Oh my God. That's where we get stuck. And so literally just having the awareness of this and putting your attention to it shifts it. You have already shifted it. How does it get better than that? What else is possible? Now you have more awareness. You are literally different from this moment on. Will you acknowledge that? I was listening last night to someone said trauma is an energy. Yeah, versus less than an incident. 100%. Due to our body and muscles retain the memory frequencies of the incident in our body and muscles. Yeah. And I really get the like, in the future, we'll just be in this space where all energy is like healing will be energy focused because the root is energy. It's always a held vibration. Whether it's a mental issue, a physical issue, it starts as an energy first. Because everything is energy. It starts as energy first, and then it becomes matter when it's been an energy held too long. And so, of course, it creates a slew of other things, right? If we're having this trauma in our body, and now it's activating our nervous system, we're constantly in a stress response. The body can't heal in a stress response. It's like leaving the car on all the time. It's not going to like do too well for so long. And this is why, a lot of the folks that I see and some folks specifically that I work with that have chronic medical conditions, autoimmunity and things like that, we do a lot of this judgment work because it's huge. We're just so programmed. It's happening all the time. And even with just the subtle little things like being willing to receive help from others has us in a grip state all the time. And then if that's just kind of your norm, if you've lived that way for years, you might not even realize that you're that activated. Yes, this makes so much sense. Change comes with trust. Yeah. Oh, change comes from trust. What is that? Oh, that one's going to need some time to land. Change comes from trust. Yeah, it's kind of like I have to feel safe enough, resourced enough to choose, right? So choosing anything outside my comfort zone is going to create a little, I use a lot of like auditory sounds. It's the best way for me to describe it sometimes, more than words. It creates the contraction, I'm not ready, brace yourself kind of thing. And so I won't always have trust about choosing the unknown. I won't have trust with that because I don't have any data. And so it's like, what would it take to trust me? To know that I always have my own back, no matter what. No matter what I choose. Even if I choose something and it's not what I expected and it goes in a way that I didn't think, what would it take for me to trust me to choose again? And not shame myself into submission about it. And so then it looks like choosing things that are just right on the edge, the stretch zone of discomfort. And I've told people before, I'd rather be in the edge of discomfort of continuing to stretch myself rather than discomfort of feeling stuck and being the same. Yeah. I feel I'm being controlled when someone is helping, doing things for me. This tends to trigger me. Ooh, yeah. So like if there were conditions when someone was giving to you, I'm not going to say contributing because then it's not contributing. Contribution energy is there are no conditions. But oftentimes people will do this thing where they give things to make others do things. Well, if I give you this, then you have to do that. Well, if I give you this money, you have to spend it this way. That is not a kindness, and that is controlling. And so if that's in your past, it can make sense that you would feel like uncomfortable receiving, like, well, what's their ulterior motive there? And so it might seem odd to meet someone who just wants to contribute. Yeah. I'm just looking if there's more questions. And what we give our mind and thoughts to is energy. It's making sense. So glad. Yeah, I'm so grateful you're here. Yes. Yeah, because we always want to look at where is our attention going, right? So if I'm putting my energy, my attention, such a powerful resource, our attention to how we're judging ourselves, then it's like that's the starting of the energy that contracts. And then oftentimes, do we want to go there? We're going to go here. The reflection of how we judge ourselves just gets reflected back out. So it's like then it might look like judgment on others, but really it's just a reflection of how we judge us is one thing. Another thing is you are aware. There's people in my front, so I'm just looking at what's happening. You are aware, meaning you are tuned into the collective radio stations. So what if when you have a judgment, let's say even about someone else, is it possible it's even yours? Or are you perceiving the judgments they have about themselves? But then you hear it in your head, so you're like, oh my God, am I judging them? I didn't think I was that judgmental. I'm not that mean. Am I that mean? And it's like, ask a question. Who does this belong to? What am I aware of here? Y'all, when I heard this is shared space. I was like, oh, yep, it all makes sense now. Shared space. So even when you're going to judgments of yourself, ask, who does it belong to? Because the energy you wouldn't judge yourself. Like when you are being you wouldn't judge yourself. You would just be you. The infinite being doesn't judge itself. You just are you. So it's like, for what purpose do we put so much attention to it? Because if we just get pragmatic about it, like, is this making my life greater? Is this doing a thing? Well, it's not. Okay, then why do we keep choosing it? Like, we just get pragmatic about it. Even if you're like, no, judgment's right. I need to live by judgment. It's like, well, okay, cool. Does it make your life better? Then choose it. And if not, what else could you choose? Would you be willing to function from that yes-no universe? I just immediately get space from that. Ease. My body relaxes. Y'all, it is a process to like unlearn this stuff, deprogram, be mindful, be aware in the moment of when this is happening, right? And that is the process. So your takeaway from today is just to start to look at the subtle places that you're going into judgment. Just those really subtle places. I'm really striving to be the energy that is safe and healing to myself and others. It's hard sometimes because I shake my head at some people really believe is true, what some people really believe is true. Yeah, and it's just interesting, right? Because it's like based on all of our experiences and whatnot, people are gonna have all sorts of beliefs. And that's what's like interesting about our world is that what if we can't get it right? Like, what if there are just infinite possibilities, infinite choices? And I get that we are just so focused on needing to be right. That's where most like fights between relationships happen. Like just one wants to be right. Well, usually both. Judgment is fear-based. Yeah, wow. Yeah. Truly, God, yeah, that was like, so expansion. Yeah, and it's the same thing. An infinite being wouldn't do fear, wouldn't choose fear. That's actually my masterclass next month is forget scared, be scary. Which is going to be around fear, but also around like boundaries and how we go into all that business. So stay tuned for that. Okay, I was just seeing if there's any more. Is that emotional abuse? I knew a parent like that really affected me, and other kids' parents like that, only giving to get something out of it. Yeah, I mean, it can be, right? Because if it's like really meant to control the other person, that's not a kindness, right? It's not a kindness to control others. And that can be hard, especially if we think like, well, they're doing the wrong thing, and going into all of that. See if there's anything else. Okay, well, I would just really take a look at this for yourself and just notice, okay, where am I not willing to receive here? Where am I going into judgment? And then don't judge yourself for judging. Just be aware. It's like, oh, okay, it's coming in. What else could I choose here? That's your question. What else could I choose here? That's not, I'm choosing the wrong thing. Let me choose the right thing. It's, what else? What else is possible? If I didn't choose judgment, what else? Oh my gosh. We will be back tomorrow. I believe we're going to go through nervous system hygiene for day 5. Yes, day 4. We're going to go into nervous system hygiene because it's very, very important piece. And I'm trying to think of what else. Oh, if you are like, yes, I need more of this information, these are like the foundational things that I teach in a lot of my programs. However, especially in Energy Flows for CEOs, my mastermind, because these like subtle tweaks are so important for entrepreneurs and for everyone really. But these subtle tweaks make a huge difference in how you function with ease in your business and be expansive and abundant and do all those sorts of things. So we look at how you're, engaging with others, what's coming up for you, especially showing up and all these things in there. And so that is the mastermind coming up. And I would say definitely apply soon because the price is going to go up on the 28th. So the last chance to apply at the current price is the 27th. So you got a couple days. If you're pinged, and then the other thing that's also coming up is my Activate membership is opening again. So that's for more of the budding entrepreneurs, someone who's maybe just started or wanting to start, kind of in that area. And each month it's a different training program. So what are we doing this week or this month? Let your biz tell you what to do. It's all about learning to communicate with your biz energetically so that you know what to choose next, right? Like what, and this is all from this premise of not needing to do business right, because that has stuck me every single time. Every time I try to do the strategy right, the marketing right, the whatever, it like contracts exactly with the energy I'm talking about. It contracts and doesn't do the thing. Versus when I'm in question and I'm in the space of allowance and choosing me and communing with my business, then expansion. So I'm like, okay, well, we need to talk about this. What if there was a different way of being in business? Yes, Diane from Inner Circle Coaching, EFC, game changer for me. I'm so grateful. It was so great to have her in there. Yeah, check it out. Again, if it pings you, you'll know. Because people are like, I don't know, do I need EFC? Do I need Activate? I'm like, just ping the energies of it. They are very different containers based on one being more training focused, Activate, and EFC has training modules, but it has the hot seat coaching and like that type of interaction. So that's just different. And there's no wrong answer, right? Whatever you're pinged for, even though Activate is geared towards really foundational stuff for entrepreneurs, if you've been doing business from a place of like the right strategy, the wrong strategy, and you haven't included the energy piece, then that could be a really great place to start, right? To just get that foundational stuff. So I'll be talking more about it. I also have a welcome call, a fall welcome call, just to have a Zoom with you folks about just letting you know a little bit more about me. I'll talk more about the program. So that's coming up. It's in the link in my bio, so you can check that out as well. That's next week. But Activate doors will open on the 29th. So, but EFC you can apply now. So let me know if you have any questions, but if not, I will see you next week at the welcome call, but tomorrow right here. All right, take care. Bye.